This is a stunning piece. Is this red coral?
Red coral, emerald beads.
Carved? Are they carved into?
They are carved. They were actually carved in the Far East, and I believe from the archives that the pieces used, they come in elements, and she created this from the elements. But the stone supply she used was the same one used by Cartier. But this piece to wear is, I mean, it hangs to here, it spreads, it's absolutely stunning. One of the most beautiful pieces I've seen.
Absolutely amazing. Each piece of the red coral is just absolutely amazing.
Stunning colours, and the colour combination works tremendously. The emeralds are vibrant and lively.
But this is the top echelon of jewellery, though.
Definitely.
I mean,
this is probably the best piece of Belperon I've ever handled.
Yeah.
And these are some of her other designs. You can see the swirls, motifs, the use of colour with the cabochon ruby, little citrines over there. Not every piece was made for a coronation, etc., etc. There was day jewellery to be worn. But she just had the right idea. She'd meet the client. She'd almost get into their history and what functions they were going to wear what piece at. She also travelled extensively.
That heavily influenced her as well.
That's right. The Eastern influence came across in her work as well. We can see it here with this scarab brooch, which, again, I believe an old customer came in with the component parts. She put them together. And
that would take her what, 3 months, 6 months to make?
I think so. Looking through,
she had a whole like, not a factory, but a workshop with.
She used 3 different workshops in her lifetime, and they were very loyal just to her. What's interesting, I was privileged enough to go through some of her archives, and her day book for logging jewellery in and out is covered in red marks. Has he paid? Has he not? Yeah. Including the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. They're mentioned there quite a lot. But she was an obsessive compulsive. Every dinner party she ever hosted, she listed meticulously who ate what, how much they drank.
Oh, fascinating. Fascinating.
Conversation subjects, whether it was an aide-memoire for future reference or she was just that way inclined, I'm not sure. But
for you to go through those archives,
it's amazing.
Was it like a day or 2 days? You must have gone through.
I only spent a few hours doing it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back and spend years.
Almost,
Very. I wanted to take them with me.
Yeah.
This is probably the first sale that brought Belperon to the forefront of collectors' minds. Was the 1987 sale of the Duchess of Windsor's jewellery. I think it was a small sale. Sales back then weren't the grand 500 lot things they are today. And a lot of the pieces in there were by Belperon, but not attributed, because no one had ever heard of her, really. Okay. She didn't mass market, she didn't advertise. It was all word of mouth, clients of clients of clients.
And it's high society then. I mean, she dealt with the high society, so it was word of mouth.
The top of the tree.
So hence, this is actually a travesty. There's 1987 before the first sale came up with such an important...
Definitely, definitely. And this piece is now owned in New York, and it's fabulous. Again, I've been lucky enough to handle it, and it's just sensational. And the proportion I mentioned earlier is so important. It's key to this. Otherwise, it would look gaudy and...
But for me, I find it very difficult, I mean, as a viewer would, to tell how one maker can make it without... I mean, obviously, some of her form is similar, but it's so different. Each piece is so different.
They are. She had sort of 3 design periods running through her career. So you had the sort of deco design with pieces like this, then they had the African influence at the same time and the Eastern influence. And she was a very talented artist. It's quite important when one deals in things like this to look at the history of the person and the designs that they were making from an artistic point of view, the actual way they drew their designs, because these had to be interpreted by the workshop, and she would sit at the bench with the manufacturer and say, this is too big, this is too small, let's do something different here. Today it's different. Today it's all computer-aided design. You can push jewellery out by the bucket load on a production line, basically. This was not possible. Everything was hand-loving, and the retentive side of her, I can't really say retentive, the compulsive side of her was carried through into the jewellery. She'd return a piece like this because there was the tiniest flaw in it. She was a perfectionist. She made bangles out of rock crystal.
Like Fabergé, everyone knows Fabergé. If it wasn't right, he would throw it away and
start
again.
And start from scratch.
Yeah. Wow.
This was a piece made after Suzanne Belperon left René Boivin in 1938. And it was made for Millicent Rogers Balcon.
It's got the tutti frutti sort of...
It's got that feel about it.
Yeah.
It's amethyst and cabochon rubies. And the beautiful thing about it, it's flat. Some of them that they made at the same period were articulated in the joints. This one isn't. But if you laid it on a table, it looked like it would just crawl away. And it's literally the size of my hand.
Proper stunner.
It's beautiful. And it was made for Millicent, who was the Standard Oil heiress, the richest woman in the world in the 20s and 30s. Not a very nice lady by all accounts.
Well, she had a good eye.
She did. And she actually got very involved in the jewellery design. She helped Paul Flato, who was the first great Hollywood jeweller, design this heart brooch.
That's very Hollywood.
And according to both of their biographies, she sat in his store at the back, sketching hearts, puffy hearts. And they came together to create this piece for her. Interesting, it was made in France. And I'm sure it was made at the same workshop as this, which is another great piece from the period, owned by Millicent as well, but made by René Boivin, with a lot of symbolism and history. But the Calabre rubies here are of the same setting quality as the heart brooch.
I mean, what would that be worth now? I mean, if you're going to buy something like that, or let's just say the starfish.
The starfish, they range between, in pounds, £400,000 up to 750, 800,000. There are only 4 or 5 made of that period. They did make some more towards the end of the 80s, which aren't so important. I mean, they're important, but they're not so valuable because they're not the original ones.
And have they gone up in value since the 80s because of that first initial sale? So she became into...
Funnily enough, it took a steeper climb after the sale, then tailed off a little. Boivin then came to the forefront. There was a book written about Boivin in the early 90s. And then with the launch of the Belperon sale in Geneva, the launch of the book with all of her archives in it and her personal jewellery and jewellery from collectors around the world, it's a name that people now have heard of. 10 years ago, Suzanne Belperon, unless you knew, you wouldn't know. Now, more and more people are appreciating how great she was and how she should be followed and collected. Her pieces are all unique, and for me, they're just fabulous. When you have one in your hand, it's happy jewellery. It makes you smile.
There can't be that many pieces around there, really, available.
There aren't. I think she did just over 9,000 designs in her life. And if she made every one, there's 9,000 pieces in the world. In the past 5 years, I've probably handled 300 or 400, which may not sound like a huge amount, but
that is a huge amount.
Karl Lagerfeld is a big collector of hers. He has a large collection as well.
So what's the sort of legacy of the Art Deco period?
Well, post-World War II, these designers influenced heavily people like Simon Scheps. So the immediate aftermath, the immediate influence, you can see here, this is very Belperon colours, Belperon style, a stylized starfish.
Is this
cufflinks.
50s?
This is moving into the 50s and 60s, but it's an obvious throwback to her designs. And Belperon was still working at the same time, don't forget. René Boivin influenced jewellers such as René Kern, who took his bird motif is very well known. Boivin went for naturalistic subjects, the starfish, snakes, lizards. So it does continue all of the way through into the 1950s and 60s. In today's world, the great jewellers from contemporary period, James de Givenchy, Jarre, still talk about the influence they have, or they felt, from Belperon, Boivin, Paul Flato, and it's still continuing today. The difference is, and there is a big difference, in the 20s and 30s, people such as Millicent were asked to do photo shoots for Vogue, for example. They wore their own clothes, they wore their own jewellery, they were photographed in their own apartments, be it in Italy or the West Coast, the East Coast. And there was no such thing as a PR company pushing them to wear certain things. Today, it's more manufactured.
They did it for their own social
That's
circle.
Right. And they really were style icons. Yeah. People wanted to look like Millicent. Today, it's different. People want to look like film stars, but it's a put-together image.
But then, after that, people wanted to look like them.
Well, that's right. One would hope so.
So, okay, we've gone on that. So let's go through the 5 factors to consider when purchasing jewellery. It's very important, and the viewer's going to want to know a little bit about this.
Definitely.
Obviously, most of the things we've spoken about are dreams to look up at on what they'd love, especially
Yeah.
the ladies there who are thinking, "Oh, I'm going out tomorrow. That would be fantastic
right.
to have one of those pieces." But on the whole,
5 things. It's difficult to narrow it down to 5, but these are the 5 that I feel will give you the best grounding to begin with. Ensure the piece is what it's meant to be. There's a lot of reproductions around at the moment. There have been reproductions for forever. The Argentinian reproductions of 30 years ago now have so much wear on them, they look like the original. But it's important that you are happy with the person you're buying from. I think that's the easiest way for a member of the public who doesn't have a background in jewellery to feel confident they're buying the right thing. You have to look at the person selling it to you. Do you believe them? Do they have a good reputation? The other stock that's in their showcase, their vitrine, is of a similar quality. Another key point, turn the piece over. The back of a piece of jewellery is almost as much of a story as the front. Does it look well made? Can you see scratch marks on it, polish marks? Does it feel rough? Or is it smooth and well manufactured? Today's mass manufactured jewellery tends to be hand finished. It's not made with the same quality.
sharpness and doesn't
That's
have
right.
a velvet smoothness from the age.
I recently bought a necklace and took a silk scarf and ran the piece over it. 1920s, it would have been worn over the top. It's snagged left, right and centre.
So you know straight away.
But you can't necessarily feel it with the bare skin. So there are tips and tricks that, to overcome these fakes, if you like, which are coming out. Quality over quantity. Everyone has a budget.
Of course.
The numbers that we've been mentioning have been astronomical. But you should buy the best that you can afford. I'm sure you find the same thing in the auctions. You don't push people into buying a collection of 100 pieces. They'd be better served buying one piece for the same value. It just makes more sense.
Yeah.
These pieces, some of them are over 100 years old. If I live to be 100, I expect to carry a few chips and bruises along the way, and the same with jewellery. It's meant to be worn, so an acceptable amount of repair is fine, but make sure the person you're buying from discloses that. There shouldn't be lumps of lead solder on the back where the pin fitting has fallen off. In today's world, the technology is helping us restore pieces properly using laser machines where it's invisible to the naked eye, the repair that's been done. But a good retailer will say to you, this stone's been changed. This wasn't original. We couldn't find the original piece of onyx the same colour, so we changed the whole thing, or the earring fittings have been changed. So don't let it put you off, but it will have a reflection on the price that you should pay for things, and it should be done well.
I guess predominantly as well is if you love the piece as well.
Oh, definitely.
And that should be one of the
Jewellery
premost
should
things.
speak to you. It
Right.
should be...
More than an investment, if you're going to invest in a piece of jewellery, it should be something that you love, that you're going to use,
yeah.
rather than buying it just to put into a vault to try and sell further down the line.
No, I agree. And jewellery is like any other stock commodity. There are risks associated with it. South Sea cultured pearls 15 years ago, 20 years ago were $1 million a strand. Today they're 100,000. Not everything goes up. But if you buy the quality over the quantity and you buy the best that you can afford, you stand a better chance. I put research down as a bit of there's a dual aspect to it. One I've mentioned before, research the person you're buying from. Go on their website, visit their shop, try and talk to other people who might know them. In the trade, we don't mind a little bit of, do you know so-and-so?
Of course, and you expect that.
You
That's
expect
why
it, exactly.
you guys work so hard to build up your reputation over time. And
Yeah, the reputation is what counts. And research the piece. If you're looking to buy a Boivin starfish, find out what kind of money you should be paying for them. I have to hold myself back from saying it, but the auction houses, sale results, previous sale results, can be misleading. There are anomalies in there where two private bidders have decided
we have that regularly in my place.
It happens.
Yeah.
So take it with a slight pinch of salt, but it will give you a good background feel for whether you're looking at 10,000, 50,000, 500,000. And it will also, the auction catalogues are great because of the research they put into every piece, the full description. Go to the auction, it's free. Turn up, handle the jewellery, try and find a style you like, a period you like, a designer you like. It's an opportunity to go and experience it without a financial obligation.
Oh, it's fun, and you'll enjoy it as well.
Yeah, and if you stay for the sale, you might buy something.
Yeah.
Provenance is important.
I mean, on the research, what advice would you have for the viewer at home to do that? Apart from going to auction houses, which I think is a fantastic first stop. Obviously, owning an auction house.
You would say that.
I'd like to try to get some punters in there, but I mean, going to different jewellers, saying like Bond Street and stuff. Obviously, people are a bit scared to go to some of these places because it is, you know,
some of the names can be slightly
daunting.
Exactly. To open that door, and most of them have security guards. Yeah. And double door entry systems, and because of the value.
But it shouldn't be a problem because anyone's allowed to go into these places,
right.
And you can go in there, you can go have a look at a piece. They're very happy to show you that piece. Obviously, they want you to buy those pieces, but at the same time, you have every right to feel, touch, and look at those pieces there. Especially if you found a piece that you're looking for, you can go see a real piece in one of those reputable places there because you know they're real.
That's right.
And if your piece that you're
there's a reason why they're in business for 400 years and they've been on Bond Street.
You pay a premium for that, though, as well.
You do, because they have expensive overheads, but they also have the best stock. So if you really want to start collecting the best, that's where you should go and ask questions. The sales staff are there to help you. Yeah. They're not there just to take your money. They should, if they're good, want you as a long-standing client, so give you information and educate you in something that you know nothing about to build a collection together. It only benefits them in the long run. But yeah, go and have a wander in the West End.
I know it's simple what we're talking about now, but for a lot of people, it is daunting. For
them, isn't it? It's a big step. And also, the jewellery stores look intimidating.
Yeah, they do. And so does some of the big auction houses as well.
No, that's right. You don't think that you're allowed to cross the threshold.
Once you cross that threshold, then it's a whole world opening up to you.
That's right. Well. Yeah. And there's absolutely no obligation. You can quite happily turn around, walk out of the door, say thank you very much for your time. And who knows, in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, you'll come back because you had a nice chat with the salesman. The shop will be happy. Yep. We all play a longer game than that. So don't be intimidated. Good. It's not as scary as you think.
Good bit of advice. And sorry, and then...
No. And provenance, going back to the Millicent Rogers, she was a socialite of the 20s. The piece has more value because she owned it. She wore it. I hate to imagine what it's seen in its lifetime, what parties it was privy to, what world events it's seen. But it's important. I mean, we all know from the sale catalogues, if you have a sale, an item that belonged to a member of the royal family, or a titled gentleman is one of your normal clauses at the top. Yeah. The estimates are slightly higher. The provenance is important. People like buying into a story, and that's
also a good reason you're paying a little bit more. But then if you've got it as an investment piece, then obviously with the provenance.
Correct.
It helps give other people more comfort, so they're happy to pay a higher price down the line.
But you must make sure you have the literature to back it up. Okay. Ask for a letter. Ask for a certificate of authenticity. Ideally, a photograph of said celebrity socialite wearing the piece. That way it's...
Yeah, and that gives it a bit of provenance as well.
Exactly. But as you said earlier, the most important thing is to enjoy it. Wear the jewellery. Don't be scared of wearing it and enjoying it. It shouldn't be locked in the safe in the bank vault, not to see the light of day. That would just be a tragic waste.
Sam, thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
This has been absolutely fascinating, and it's been amazing to actually look at some amazing pieces that you deal with.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And this is Antiques Masterclass. We'll see you in 14 days for your next bite-sized expert talk on the antiques world. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.